Hello and welcome to a new episode of Page 10. We're recording on the 3rd of April 2023. After a short birthday break, I am back. And with us today on the panel, we have a regular panelist and we have a returning panelist. With me on the show are Meghnad joining us from Delhi.
Hello, Abbas. Happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
I've been
uh,
wishing you every day last week.
I know, yes.
Everywhere.
And with us is a returning panelist, someone who's been on our show before. He's a digital investigator with Odd News. It's Kalim Ahmed. Hi, Kalim.
Hi Abbas, happy birthday again.
थैंक यू ये एक हफ्ता पुराना हो चुका है मेरा बर्थडे बट थैंक यू एनीवे आई लाइक हाउ कलीम विश्ड मी ऑन ट्विटर विद अ मैंडलोरियन मीम because my username on Twitter is Momindalorian. So
Oh,
thank you,
yes.
Khalif.
Welcome.
All right. So, in case you're joining us for the first time on Page 10, Page 10 is the current affairs show of the All About Now feed on IVM podcast, where every week we have a panel, and each panelist brings a piece of news that happened, preferably in the past week, and then we have a healthy discussion about it and question each other and try and get more details. And basically, it's the opposite of your 9 o'clock news. We have a good discussion. We don't yell each other out, and this is the All About Now feed of IVM podcast. You can also check out two other shows on this very feed: How to Citizen, hosted by Meghnad and Shreyas, and ELI 10, hosted by Meghnad. So, what we have today is a bunch of news that happened over the week. We'll start with our guest. So, Kalim, what do you have for us? Take it away.
So I'll be talking about Twitter. Like
All
it's
right.
a platform I use a lot, and it's a platform I have a love-hate relationship at this point.
Yeah, I
So
think I think the platform uses us more than we use the platform.
true,
Yeah.
true. And I think I also enjoy the hate that thrives on Twitter. For some time I enjoy that, but not all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Elon Musk is the CEO and everything, we know that, and every day there is a new change. So the
Yes.
first thing I want to talk about is the censorship on Twitter. So in the last 2 weeks, at least 122 accounts have been withheld in India, and this list includes journalists from Punjab. Most of the journalists from Punjab, like Sandeep Singh, who became very famous and came to the mainstream because of his reportage during the farmers crisis or the farmers protest,
Mhm.
and also someone from Punjab Kesari. But there is also Rupi Kaur and Jagmeet Singh, who is a Canadian politician. They have all been with all those accounts have been withheld in India.
Mhm.
So the problem is that the list is 122 accounts, and you can find that in Lumen database, and you can also read there are multiple reports. And what earlier used to happen was that in 2022, when this censorship was quite high and there were multiple requests, at least Twitter used to fight back.
Mm.
Now that does not happen. Like, at least it's not like that Purana Twitter, the old Twitter, was like very rebellious or anything. They used to comply with all the requests. But right
Right.
now, they don't even fight back at all. And as far as I know, they don't even have lawyers in India anymore to fight back these takedowns. So
Mhm.
it's a very strange thing that they don't have any team in India. And it's
Mm.
not just happening in India, but even in Bangladesh. So just I think 6 days ago, the Bangladesh government arrested a journalist called Shamsuzzaman. He used to work for Prathamalo, which is one
Mhm.
of the biggest and finest media houses in Bangladesh, and he has been arrested under Digital Safety Act. So under that act, it's a very draconian act, and you can put someone in jail for spreading misinformation or fake news for up to 15 years. And what
Okay.
happened was that a bunch of journalists, they came out on Twitter and they posted photo that journalism is not a crime and everything. So even those tweets were withheld in Bangladesh because it violated the law of the land, whatever.
Right.
They give a
Right.
very long and vague excuse, because even I have been withheld in India. No, I mean, one of my tweets have been withheld in India, and
Mhm.
one tweets by Hindutva Watch, which is a research, how do I say, account, or it's not an institution or anything. They
Mm.
document hate speeches delivered in India and maybe hate crimes at best.
Right.
And there, I think at least 7 of their tweets which documented objectionable speech or hate speech delivered by T Raja Singh, the BJP legislator
Hmm.
who has been.
Right.
So 7 tweets withheld. One of my tweets have been withheld, and obviously one tweet by Amnesty International. It was a Twitter thread. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not Amnesty International, Amnesty India, basically.
Mm-hmm.
India. Hmm.
So yeah, this is going on, but this is not just one thing. When we think about censorship, we are just thinking about government, withholding certain tweets or accounts. But
Right.
in terms of what Twitter is making changes also is very regressive in a way.
Hmm.
uh,
Mm-hmm.
they have announced a new API plan. API is used by developers who use Twitter's data and features to build third-party apps on top of Twitter. And what happened was that before Elon took over, anybody who had a developer account on Twitter, they had API access, they could have access up to 2 million tweets to analyze.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember how many tweets that they can write. When I say that
Hmm.
they can write, say I created an third party app, and maybe there are 50 users of that
Mm-hmm.
third party app, and they tweet through that app. So earlier I guess they had at least unlimited access. I'm not sure
Hmm.
about that. It was called elevated access. So say if Meghnad makes 3,000 tweets in a month, or I made say 5,000 tweets in a month, that together becomes 10,000 tweets for that specific platform, right?
Hmm.
So not 10,000, whatever the figure is.
Hmm.
So what happened is that under the new system, they have created 3 tiers. One of them is free basic, where you can make 1,500 tweets through an app.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
then there is free basics, and then there is hobbyist, basically for students who want to play with the platform.
Hmm.
And those accounts can what I forgot to mention is that they can have 1,500 tweets, but there is no access to tweets. So if I want to
Oh, they can't.
analyze,
They
say,
can't download like other tweets.
no, they can't. So they
Oh.
can make 1,500 tweets, but they can't download in free basic.
Oh, that's
And
weird, huh?
then there is the hobbyist
Hobbyist.
one, yeah, which gives like 10,000 tweets you can make, and around 50,000 tweets you can download, analyze, whatever you want to do. And then there is enterprise level, which is 42,000 per month. And the free basics is $100, and this one is $42,000 per month. And there is also no guarantee that it will be $42,000 or not, because they said they will be providing a very uh, customized personal access that you can do. And in that range, you can have access to, they have not provided how many tweets or how many tweets you can write through an app. But uh, before Elon took over the free version, you can have access to 2 million tweets per month.
Hmm.
So
Hmm. Hmm.
in that way, he is kind of killing third party apps. And for something like Twitter, which was in its earlier form, like I'm talking about 2014, 2013, it very much looked like Mastodon, right? It was
Right.
very basic and everything,
Yeah.
and people used to use the third party apps to make it a better platform.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And
Like I
even
used I
today,
used TweetDeck, I used a bunch of other apps to access Twitter back then, I remember. And then Twitter bought over I think TweetDeck and destroyed it completely.
yeah. And I think now they are trying to kill TweetDeck. That is also,
Hmm.
that might also happen,
Hmm.
because there are no ads as far as I know on
Hmm.
TweetDeck. So if there are no ads, Elon is unhappy, right?
Hmm.
And what
Hmm.
happened is that so many of the third party apps will shut down eventually, and it's not a good thing. People use those uh, platforms to analyze a bunch of accounts. If I try to analyze 3,000 tweets of one account, as a single user I've used the API to access 3,000 tweets, and they can have access up to 50,000. तो अगर 10 लोगों ने भी कर दिया, then that's like 30,000 tweets have been accessed.
Exhausted.
20,000 बचा ही है. So there is no point, right? And uh, I feel like there needs to be a change, because there are many people who have worked very hard making this tools, and they will eventually shut down. And I don't
Yeah.
know why the profit has become the first priority and
Motive,
not
yeah,
the
Mhm.
community.
right.
Exactly.
So,
In sorry, just to interrupt, there is this website called All My Tweets, which I used to.
Uh-huh.
So like I did this story on Kapil Mishra long time ago, like last year
Yeah.
sometime, where I was basically trying to figure out how their network works and how they, blast Twitter with their old propaganda. So we had gone into their Telegram group, etc. So to
Yeah.
figure out what is happening on Twitter, there is this website called All My Tweets. So if you put a handle, it gives you like around 5,000 latest tweets of that person, right? It's
Yeah.
not working anymore. I mean, I was checking, I think 3 days ago to do something, and it's not working. So I think that might be the reason you're just telling us.
Yeah, like who has $42,000? Even university,
Yeah.
up to a point, they will have to decide their budget. Like who wants to spend? I mean, Stanford has a observatory, right? Internet
Mm.
observatory where they analyze threat accounts and everything. They might have the budget, but $42,000 per month doesn't sound or sit right. And there is no in between, either the basic
Mm.
$100 or forty-two thousand
yeah.
dollars.
Mm,
Mm.
mm,
And obviously the third thing is now the legacy check mark or whatever. So
Mm.
they announced that on April 1st every account will lose legacy check mark. The problem is Elon Musk doesn't understand Twitter, and he has fired so many people that nobody else also understands Twitter. So Washington Post spoke to a former employee, and he said that on April 1st, to remove in bulk all the legacy check marks, it's not possible. It's like
right,
accessing a Excel sheet where you
right,
have to manually go and do it. And even
correct.
in the
Mm.
past, when they tried to remove somebody's check mark, it used to come back.
Mm.
And it is very much evident when you go and see Twitter Blue.
Yeah,
Many
Yeah.
people have paid for Twitter Blue and they got blue check mark and whatever, and then they stopped paying, but the check mark never went back.
Check
right.
mark
So
never
it's
went
a
away. I know. Yeah.
yeah. So for a handful of accounts, it went away, but many people are doing that. Even I am also thinking of doing that. Like, if you can scam Twitter, why not do it? Why do I want
Exactly.
to?
Yeah.
Why would I give $8 or
So
what,
one
900
one
rupees in India?
interesting thing that happened around this. Sorry, interrupting.
Yeah.
But so I was checking. So when you click on the blue check mark, it gives you like this message, right? So earlier, my Twitter account used to say, "This is a legacy account. It may or may not be notable." Right, like
Yeah.
slap on your face basically कि तू पता नहीं तू कौन है types. Like
Mhm.
Elon was very proud of this. He came up with this
Right.
whole line,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
gives you an existential crisis, to be honest.
Mm.
It's like
Yeah.
मैंने क्या ही किया है life में types, right? And then after that I subscribed to Twitter Blue. I wanted to see the features, right? I got
Mm.
all the features. I think they're decent, like
Mm.
undoing
Mm.
tweet 30 minutes ke liye you can edit it, all the things.
Mm.
There's
Mm.
this top article feature which is there now, or for Twitter Blue, which is great, which you click on and then you can share. You can see which is the most popular article your timeline is sharing, which i
Okay.
Yeah.
i
Yeah.
really like, right? And
Mm.
there is this read function also, thread padne ke liye, all the things. It's okay, I mean, yeah, whatever. But why I did this was also to prepare for the subscription that they are going to bring in, which is individual creators can be able to can get like super follows from people. They
Right.
were trying
Yeah.
things out, so उसके लिए
Yeah.
ट्विटर ब्लू जरूरी है, is what was
Mm.
said. So I was like,
Yeah.
अभी कर लेते.
Mm.
I did it, and then I was like, now मेरे यहाँ पे लिख के आएगा कि this is subscribe to Twitter Blue. No, did not happen. Now what it reads is, this account is verified because it subscribed to Twitter Blue or is a
Or
legacy verified account. I'm like, what? Okay. Go on, Kalim.
yeah. It happened last night only. I was awake
Yeah.
around 3 a.m. So I
Yeah,
saw
so we're
that
recording
they
this
are.
on the 3rd of April, and 1st April is from when this was supposed to get
Yeah, yeah.
come into practice. But
Yeah.
as you said, we still have a lot of blue ticks which are legacy accounts, and they say they are legacy accounts. But yeah, this is very bizarre that you figure out on your own which one it is.
Yeah. Yeah, and there are still scripts which turn the, if you are a blue subscriber, the tick will turn to poop emoji. So you can figure out if this user is, legacy verified or Twitter Blue user. And it's still working as of last night. So I'll provide the link if anybody wants to use. But most people use Twitter through their phone, not through
Right.
their, PC. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I have no idea how useful it's going to be in the long run. And there is
There is
another
one more
user.
interesting thing which you just said. So there is this
Yeah.
massive judgment that people are doing for people who subscribe to Twitter Blue now. Like
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
अरे देख इसने इसको
Hmm.
Elon को पैसा दिया types,
खरीद लिया.
like इसने खरीद लिया. Like so petty, you want a blue check, so you're paying for it, whatever, right? So it's a meme now basically on Twitter.
Yeah.
So
Hmm,
Yeah.
this
hmm.
poop emoji thing came from there, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's very interesting because so this whole judgment that is happening, no. So I subscribe because I genuinely wanted to see the features, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
plus मुझे थोड़ा सा existential crisis हो रहा है आजकल, that
Mhm.
am I notable, am I not notable, do I deserve this, whatever, right? um but after Elon did this, Meta also started doing this on Instagram.
Yeah.
So essentially now everybody is like, yeah, why are we giving them special status without us getting anything out of it? So
Yeah.
that is basically what is essentially what where all social media platforms seem to be going.
So,
Yeah.
what's the meta version of this? Because I know you could apply for a verification, which I
Mm-hmm.
tried twice and I was turned down.
Yeah, yeah.
So now you can pay and get a verified account on Meta also.
Seems like it. So like they announced
Okay.
it. I don't think it's like completely deployed yet, but
All
they
right.
had like this
Yeah.
same thing, like we'll give you
Right.
verified
Right. Right.
whatever.
Okay. And
Yeah.
how
Um
much is Twitter
Must be US
Blue?
only.
yeah.
How much do you have to pay for a Twitter Blue feature?
Oh, that's also fun,
900,
huh?
I think.
Huh.
So
Yeah.
Twitter Blue, if you subscribe from the desktop, it's $8. So it's like what, $600 something,
Right. Huh.
699, right?
Six. Huh. Okay.
And then if you subscribe from like
iOS or
phone,
Google Store.
Hmm.
it's
Hmm.
Yeah.
$11. So like
Oh.
because iOS is taking like a cutout of it, Google is taking a cutout of it. So
Right.
Twitter is like कि तुम फिर ज़्यादा पैसे दो. So obviously I went and did it from the desktop.
From the
I'm getting
laptop.
all the
Yeah.
features on I'm getting all the features on here anyway.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm like, it's so anyway, that's. And also Elon keeps getting confused about how much people are getting charged, okay? Because
Hmm.
what they did
Yeah.
was पहले $8 था. Now if you do an annual subscription, it comes to $7.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
he keeps saying $7, $8, $9, $7, $8. It's like, what is happening?
But if you think about it, he initially wanted $20, and Twitter is the only kind of
Yeah,
platform where you can
yeah,
get into a fight with a celebrity. And he got
yeah,
into an argument with Stephen King, who said, "I don't want to pay anything."
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
he replied twice, and then he replied, I think, for the third time, saying, "How about $8?" Because
yeah.
na tera na mera, $8 mein maan ja. Also, if you think about it, this entire Twitter blue checkmark would not have become a meme if Elon Musk had not antagonized his own community. तुम
Hmm,
एक दिन आए अचानक से आके you have started firing people when the inflation is all time high. Obviously people will side with the employees, not with you. And then
hmm,
you came and you are trying to antagonize the media, because
hmm,
a lot of media houses will have to buy the Twitter check mark, right? There is an
Yeah.
enterprise version where you have to pay $1,000, and then you will get 5 affiliated accounts that can have a small logo, on side of the name, and then
hmm.
the Twitter check mark. So that is, if you want to get more affiliated accounts, then you have to pay $50 more. And the idea is that he thinks people will buy, media houses will buy. But
Mm-hmm.
the moment he started arguing with them, they went against him, because obviously anybody will go against you. You are a billionaire and trying to come and
The funniest thing
yeah,
that happened about this was the New York Times thing. So New York,
yeah,
when they introduced this enterprise thing, right? New York Times,
right,
basically the editorial board said that we are not going to pay for this.
yeah,
Like we are not going to pay for, yeah. And then Elon is like, "Arey, why is New York Times not paying for this?" So he basically, like in a vengeful move, last night only, like yesterday or day before, he removed their
yeah,
checkmark completely. So now New York Times doesn't have a checkmark, and
yeah,
that's the only like big media. They have 55 million followers, by the way. and
Right.
they
Yeah.
don't have a check mark anymore. So it's like a vengeful move that he did to just make them an example. कि तू पैसा नहीं देगा तो जा. It's like,
But
go.
ज़्यादा thought भी तो नहीं है, because New York Times is not verified, but New York Times books, New York Times music, New
Yeah.
York Times this,
Yeah.
that, everything else is verified.
Wow. Imagine a scenario where New York Times cartoons is verified, but the actual New York Times is not. What a world we live in.
Exactly.
Uh,
I have 2 points. Sorry, can I make those 2 points
sure.
quickly?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Then I
yeah.
also
Uh,
have a few questions, but go ahead, Mignan.
Yeah. One is, of course, there are a few other things that have happened. I was also following this story after Kalim was going to cover it. So one is they've open sourced the algorithm, which I
Yeah.
think is the is a very big thing. I don't think people realize what happened here. So to
Can you
tell people,
simplify what?
yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
exactly. So now Twitter has like a bunch of code behind it, which essentially this company was, you know, fucking around with for a while. Then Elon took over, and then he was fucking around with it even
Hmm,
more.
hmm, hmm.
Yeah.
All the developers that are working on it. So every feature basically will have like certain codes and everything. Now, what Twitter ended up doing, which is fascinating. So before this, nobody knew how the algorithm worked, right? Like
Yeah.
तुम कुछ post कर रहे हो
Mhm.
and it gets retweeted, liked,
Yeah.
whatever, follow आता है, but then you don't know when it will show up on anybody else's timeline or not. So
Right.
what they did is they completely open sourced it. Now you can figure out why your tweet is doing well or not,
Okay.
right? So now
Yeah.
Mhm.
you can actually see the base code of Twitter. All developers around the globe can see the base code of Twitter to see how it works, right? Which is fascinating because, like, I just one example, right? So people have gone through this code now. There are two things that they found. One is that Twitter was running this bizarre sort of experiment where they had categorized certain accounts as Democrats, Republicans, and Elon
Oh.
Musk.
Elon Musk.
So,
Yeah.
like, so there was one specific parameter saying Elon, when Elon is author, you know, like it will generate a report or something, right? So they had done that, right? So and then basically they had also put in boost parameters. So for example, if Abbas tweets something and it gets retweeted or it gets liked or, you know, quote tweeted, right? So if Abbas tweets something and it gets retweeted, then it's a 20x boost. So
Okay.
probability of it increases on showing up, right? If it gets liked, there's a 30x boost.
Yeah.
That's the most bizarre, but
Yeah.
anyway, right? And then if someone replies to your tweet, Abbas, it's a 1x boost, right?
Oh.
And
Okay.
the classic wisdom on Twitter, if you talk to any social media
Hmm.
people, managers,
Hmm.
etc., right now the classic wisdom is that if you reply to something, it gets a lot of engagement,
Yeah.
right? So people, so like more and more these brands talking to each other, or like people talking to each other instead of quote tweeting, they're replying. I've been doing
Hmm.
it for
Hmm.
years now, basically
Hmm.
just replying instead of quote tweeting someone, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
um now it seems like that was the most inefficient way to do things. I should
Yeah.
just get people to like it instead.
Like it. Yes.
So it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
so there are like a
But I
lot of,
think this is
yeah.
the open source bit is just for the for you tab, right? There are two tabs. One is
Yeah.
for you tab and one is
Yeah.
following. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
they have open source only the for you bit. And I think that we could actually see this like wala thing, that the boost. If you go back
Hmm.
a year ago, suddenly you could see some tweets because X number of mutuals have liked this tweet. It used to
Correct.
appear on
Yeah.
top of your timeline.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that thing, came over, and now we can see that in the for you tab where the algorithm works, and in the following tab also the algorithm works. I guess it's very difficult to figure out,
Yeah,
but only in
at
the
least
for you tab it
as
used
far
to
as I
show.
can
Yeah.
see, following is real time. But like
Yeah.
for you is like, but for you has become so addictive.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
very. And have you seen this, Abbas? Like for you is
Yeah.
like a TikTok reel, TikTok thing now.
That's
Like, you know,
true.
it's like
It's
I can't
interesting
I
though.
can't get enough of it.
Because
Yeah.
both of you are saying it's interesting, but I have people in my friend circle saying that when they go, and now I think when you open Twitter, it opens the For You tab by default. You have to
Yes.
go
Yeah.
into following. So For You shows you tweets which are, according to Twitter, designed for you. But a lot of my friends say that now we are seeing tweets by people. We barely see any tweets by people who we follow. It's all tweet
Hmm.
accounts who we don't follow. So why
Hmm.
are we
Yeah.
seeing their tweets? And again, the idea that I am putting out tweets for my followers, which may be going out to people I don't want it
Hmm.
to go out to. So there, that thing is also out there.
There
That the
is a
For
there
You.
is a sudden barrage of white people, by the way. So I think what
Yeah.
what has happened is that For You tab may now they are actively promoting Twitter Brew subscribers.
Ha,
Huh.
So a lot of these journalist white people, Elon fans, have like subscribed to Twitter Blue.
Twitter Blue.
So
Yeah.
basically, okay, if you have to categorize, it's either crypto bros or
Hmm.
basically these AI chumps,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
Huh.
now what I'm just constantly seeing is threads and threads on AI,
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
how will AI chat GPT में क्या हो रहा है ये वो whatever, right? I mean, I am interested in that topic, so that might also play into it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's incredible how many people I'm seeing now, which is just threads on technology and AI and
Also,
developments and also
something
scams.
really funny is that despite having the option of 10,000 words ka tweet, people still go for the thread because the 10,000
Yeah.
words is very annoying to double click and everything. So yeah.
Yeah. The moment I see read more on a tweet, I'm like, no, I'm not. I just scroll past it. Also,
Another
I
Twitter Blue feature, yes,
yeah.
which I got, and then
Uh,
I used it twice, and then I never used it.
I'm not seeing any IPL tweets on my timeline. So whoever is designing this algorithm, I'm very
Oh,
thankful to them.
right. That's
uh,
also true.
Kalim, I have a one question. So the tweet of yours that is withheld, what is
Yeah.
the procedure now to fight it? Because I remember years ago, a comedian friend of mine was running an account called Garib Aadmi, okay, which was a
Hmm.
parody account, and they used a picture of Nawazuddin Siddiqui as the profile
Yeah.
picture. So the account was withheld, and they appealed for it. So they said कि आप बस अपना profile picture change कर दो, don't make it
Huh.
this one. Nawazuddin, and then we'll reinstate it. And that's what happened. But now, as you're saying that the so many people have been fired, and so there's very little staff left in India. So, what's the procedure to fight if your account or your tweet is withheld in India?
I think if your account is withheld, I'm not sure exactly what's the procedure, but as far as I know, that if they ask you to change a DP or they ask you to
Hmm.
delete a certain tweet, then
Hmm.
the account will be reinstated. Or
Okay.
there, but it's very bizarre because if an account has been withheld in India, it has been legally withheld. So you will have to
Right.
go and legally fight it.
Okay.
One thing is you get suspended, and one thing is that you have been legally withheld. So in
Hmm.
case of suspension, obviously you can delete a tweet. If you remember Sanjay Hegde, he was removed from the platform, suspended because he had a क्या बोलते हैं वो thumbnail or the DP of Nazi Germany of one person not doing the
Hmm.
Nazi salute.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
after that, his account was permanently suspended. And if you
Hmm.
remember at the time, many people in India stopped using Twitter for some
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
It may be
Yeah.
for
Hmm.
3
There was
days
an
or 7
exodus
days.
to Mastodon. I think that was the second exodus to Mastodon.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, that was the first. The second was
That
after
was the first.
Elon
Yeah.
took over.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
And
those things
even
you
if,
can,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, those things you
E-
can fight back, right? You can change the DP or you can delete that specific tweets. Because in the case
okay.
of accounts like Elon Jet or where he claimed his assassination coordinates were made live, those journalists were
Hmm.
allowed to come back on the platform if they deleted that certain tweet. But in
Hmm.
case your account is withheld legally in India, then you have to fight it legally, as far as I know, because there are not just a few accounts.
Hmm.
122 accounts is a lot, and
Also,
there is
they
no.
don't have that. Earlier, they had this whole grievance redressal officer thing, right? Under the new
Yeah,
IT rules, every
yeah,
social media platform needs to have a grievance redressal officer who you can basically complain to, and then they have to respond in a certain time and make sure that action has happened. So now Twitter
yeah,
का अगर team ही नहीं है India में,
Hmm.
so
yeah,
they fired their grievance redressal officer, and basically now they don't give a shit about Indian laws. Like it's
Right.
very
Yeah.
evident now, like that. हाँ तो है, मतलब टीम ही नहीं है हमारे यहाँ पे, तो क्या ही करेंगे तुम लोग, अभी बैन
हाँ.
कर दो, like वैसे भी क्या फर्क पड़ता है. So it's
Right.
very bizarre.
Okay.
Twitter is
And
just crazy.
even the जो भी grievance officer or even an employee still works, I'm assuming, if at least one
Hmm.
person works, you would not want to reach out to them as a journalist. तुम उसको reach
Yeah.
out तुमने उसको reach out किया maybe, and he goes and asks in the San Francisco headquarters कि क्या करना है, and then he will get fired. So you would
Hmm.
not want that specific employee to get fired. Just work with the poop emoji that they reply with when you mail their press team. And but I
Right.
have seen there are many accounts that were suspended, like permanently suspended. There was an activist called Muhammad Asif Khan,
Yes.
and he
Hmm.
used to
I think
document
back
hate
also.
crimes. So one thing was that when it comes to Muhammad Asif Khan or any other accounts,
Hmm.
they could manually go and address it through the Twitter's platform, that why they have been suspended. And I have
Hmm.
seen somebody say that because my views were right wing and the account got reinstated.
Hmm. Hmm.
They just did it to play with the platform. And
Okay.
another one was that Twitter was also seeing how many accounts they have suspended, and they were reinstating. One of them is True Indology, and it's a very
Hmm.
famous account for spreading misinformation, historical misinformation. And
Hmm.
those appeals were done directly to L. Irwin, or Ella Irwin, who is right
Hmm.
now the head of the communication or whatever she does, trust and safety. And
Hmm.
she is manually reinstating. If 10,000 accounts are replying to her, she's like, okay, we are reviewing the process, and then a week later this account gets reinstated. But that is
Okay.
for just suspension. There is
Right.
Hmm.
no
Right. Right.
process for how to address this withheld tweets and everything.
Okay. Why was Rupi Kaur's account suspended?
Probably because of farmers protest, but it doesn't make sense. Not suspended, withheld in India. It
Withheld.
doesn't
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
sense to withheld right now. So probably
Okay.
because she was active during farmers protest. Even
Okay.
Hmm.
Sandeep Singh, he was active. Jagmeet Singh, who is a Canadian politician, they were all active
Right.
during
Right. Right.
farmers protest.
Okay. All right. Okay. I have a last question, which I want both Meghnad and your views on. Do, do all of these, bringing all these measures in place, will it reduce hate speech and misinformation on Twitter?
One thing that Elon keeps claiming
Hmm.
constantly, again and again, is that this whole for you tab and how it changes, right? So, what he's saying is that now, from April 15th, I think, whoever is subscribed to Twitter Blue will show up on the for you tab, or people you're following. Other than that, no other accounts will show up.
Hmm.
So, he's trying to incentivize people to pay to Twitter so
Right.
that you can have more reach, etc. His logic is that if you are a spam bot or a misinformation person or whatever, why would you pay Twitter?
Correct.
That's a bit ridiculous, logic wise, because now it's like, oh, this is great, I give $8 a month and then I just get boosted by Twitter by default,
Hmm.
and plus I get like a proper customer service only to myself. So
Hmm.
essentially now it's like gold mine for misinformation, right? Which is like, हाँ मेरे को एक तो blue tick मिल रहा है, more people will
Hmm.
believe me, right? uh,
Hmm.
दूसरा, I am getting boosted by Twitter as a platform,
Hmm.
right? And plus मुझे निकालेंगे नहीं because I'm paying Twitter. So like essentially like these random accounts which have not verified, they are
Hmm.
more likely to get suspended than someone who is paying Twitter, right?
Right.
So then if I'm actively using Twitter to spread misinformation, Twitter Blue is the best thing that has happened to me,
But the
I would say.
Yeah.
general perception is that these bots who troll and who spread hate tweets, they are like they thrive in anonymity and the fact that they can say anything and get away with it.
तो
Will,
anonymous को
will,
भी तो Twitter मिल रहा है.
will Twitter Blue
Yeah.
bring some sort of accountability
I
to
don't think so.
accounts? No.
I
Okay.
genuinely don't think
See,
so.
if you look at any blue checkmark as of today, it says
Hmm.
maybe subscribe to Twitter Blue or maybe a legacy verified account. So
Hmm.
it gives me an incentive. Just 2 3 months back, when somebody created a fake blue checkmark account and tweeted in the name of Eli Lilly that insulin will be free, their
Hmm.
Hmm.
stocks collapsed, right? But
Yeah.
Hmm.
many people figured out that if you click on a blue checkmark, it will say it is subscribed to Twitter Blue. If
Right.
today somebody creates a fake Eli Lilly account and does
Hmm.
the same thing, how are you going to differentiate whether this is
Hmm.
a real account or this is a fake account, unless you go through the followers and everything? But
Correct.
even then, if somebody has an account since 2010 and they, just change the username and subscribe to Twitter Blue, or just
Mm,
change the
mm,
display name, there is still a
mm.
good chance for people to fall for the misinformation very easily.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
God knows what will happen. Yeah.
God knows what will happen. Wow, that's a great, great note to end this discussion. Okay, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll hear from Meghnad and see what he has for us this week. We'll see you right after this break.
Hey, it's been another great week on the IBM Podcast Network. Listeners, presenting to you Club Varta Lab, the premium tier offerings for our podcast. Here you get a number of perks, like access to extra bits and clips from the episodes, completely unfiltered, uncut, and raw. The chance of watching or listening to the full episodes 2 days before the official release. An absolutely free of cost entry to the Varta Lab Just Us live shows. That's right, stories in person. Occasional live streams of the episode tapings on YouTube. An exclusive members only Telegram group with Akash and Naveen. And you also get your name on the producer slate at the end credits of all the episodes. Wow, that's a lot. So go to youtube.com/Vartalab and click on the join button to become a member now. On the Wire Talks, Siddharth talks to internet policy expert Namrata Maheshwari about the recent internet shutdown in Punjab and how it affected the people. On All Things Policy, Saurabh and Pranay discuss the development of Nordic Air Defense Alliance and its implications. And on the Habit Coach podcast's Know Your Coach series, Ashton shares how he stops his mind from wandering. Once again, don't forget to visit our merch store on the IBM Podcast website. We have some exciting stuff for you. Follow us on social media. We are IBM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. If you like our shows, spread the word. Tell all your family and friends. And don't forget to rate and review our shows wherever you're listening to them. You'll also find all our shows on youtube.com/IBM Podcasts. And finally, we would like to thank our sponsors this week: LIC India, Yono SBI, Cash Free Payments, and HDFC Mutual Fund. Thank you for making this possible.
And we're back on Page 10 with Kalim and Meghnad. If you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and share this video with someone who you think will enjoy this. If you're listening to us on an audio platform, please rate and review us. It helps us reach more people. All right, let's get back to the show. So, Meghnad, what do you have for us this week?
So, in the last month, I think we haven't really touched upon this subject. So, I thought this would be a good week to sort of talk about it.
Right.
The Amritpal Saga
Mhm.
is what I'm calling it. So, essentially, for the people who have been following this, there's this fellow called Amritpal Singh who is now absconding. He had gone on a rampage a few days ago in Punjab, him and his
Mhm.
followers. And
Mhm.
essentially now there is a manhunt going on for Amritpal Singh. So I'll
Mhm.
just give you like a brief background of who this fellow is, what he did, and why people are after him, right?
Okay.
So he's a self-styled Sikh preacher. So he doesn't have any religious per se background.
Mhm.
There is a LinkedIn profile which BBC had linked, which basically showed that he was actually living in Dubai. His family
Oh.
runs a transport business in Dubai, right? And he was there till 2012. And if you look at his picture, then he was
Mhm.
completely like well kept, shaved,
Okay.
nice looking Punjabi boy, basically,
Right.
right? Um, what happened recently is that he, for some reason, in August 2022, he came back from Dubai, and he looks like Bhindran Wale. Now,
Mm.
I'll tell you who Bindran Wale is. I know people might not know who he is, but so he now has a blue turban. He has grown a beard. He wears like he's a religious preacher now who
Right.
carries a sword and a kirpan and a kada. So all the Sikh religious symbols. So he suddenly become this person who is doing that, right? Um, Now, he is a follower of Jarnail Singh Bhindranwale. Now, Jarnail Singh Bhindranwale was a quote unquote revolutionary. Um, Definitions will differ, therefore, I'm
Mm.
saying quote unquote. Now, Bhindranwale used to believe that the only way to essentially get the pride of Sikh people back and solve the problems of Punjab is if there was a separate state, separate country for
Mm.
Sikh people, which is Khalistan. And he essentially um, sorry. Hmm. So Jarnail Singh Bhindranwale had a religious background, right? He was an actual preacher
Right.
who was a political revolutionary, and he started an armed insurgency in the 1980s. He was then stopped by Indira Gandhi in Operation Blue Star. He was killed in the process, where there was this massive showdown that happened in the Golden Temple. Bhindranwale used to be an advocate of something called the Anandpur Sahib Resolution. Right now, Anandpur Sahib Resolution is essentially this resolution by the Shiromani Akali Dal, which was made in 1973. It says that Sikhism should be recognized as a separate religion. Gurudwara के लिए एक separate law बनना चाहिए, like there should be a separate law for it, and more autonomy should be given to Punjab to an extent where it becomes a separate state, right? Like, I mean, just think about Kashmir
Hmm.
before the abrogation happened, right?
Right.
They also said that essentially, so this was actually adapted in an all India Akali conference, which was hosted by the Shiromani Akali Dal in Ludhiana in 1978. This is where Bhindranwale actually started, right? He became, basically his whole thing was that we can't talk anymore, we will start a revolution, an armed revolution.
Mhm.
So he essentially wanted a separate Khalistan, right? Now, that was in the 1980s, that ended. What has ended up happening now is that this fellow, who is Amritpal Singh, if you open up Bhindranwale's photos and if you open up Amritpal's photos, they creepily look alike. Like,
Hmm.
it's crazy how much they look alike now, right? And he's
Right.
also styling himself in the form of Bhindranwale, right?
Right.
And he openly admits that he's a follower and believes in what he
Hmm.
used to believe, right? Um, so Amritpal Singh is a resident of Jallupur Khera, in Amritsar district. He basically then came back from Dubai in August last year, which is 2022, uh, and he has basically taken over an organization called Punjab Waris Day.
Okay.
Okay. uh it's a little interesting, this whole organization Punjab Waris Day, because have you heard of Deep Sidhu?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So last year, when there was the farmers protest and everything happening, there was this fellow called Deep Sidhu who went on Republic Day to the Red Fort. He live streamed the whole thing, and he was putting the Khalistan flag on top of the Red Fort, right?
Hmm.
uh, Big controversy happened, lots of accusations were thrown around, all the things, you remember this. Now
Yeah. Yeah.
Deep Sidhu started, so he was arrested first, then he was like released, and then basically he started this organization called Waris Punjab Day, which means
Right.
heirs of Punjab.
Right.
Yeah.
He died in a car accident. Hmm.
Hmm.
Sorry, he did this in 2021, not
Yeah.
2022. He did
Yeah.
this in
Yeah.
Republic Day 2021. Now he dies in a car accident, and this guy comes back from Dubai and takes over this organization,
Hmm.
Amritpal Singh. So
Hmm.
Amritpal Singh also believes, matlab, Deep Sidhu was also a follower of Bhindranwale, or to a
Right.
certain extent, but the
Yeah. Yeah.
difference was, Deep Sidhu used to believe in talking to people and discussing things and resolving things. He was not advocating armed revolution.
There's
You were saying
actually an
something?
interview he did with Barkha Dutt about the farmer
Hmm.
protests,
Yeah, yeah.
which is very much a good example of this, because they start talking about the farmers' protest and then he brings up Bhindranwale at some point, and Barkha Dutt
Yeah.
refuses to sort of accept him as a revolutionary, and he
Hmm,
tries
hmm.
to make his argument. And so yeah, I don't know if the video is still up, but it's on the Mojo Story
I
channel.
think
You can
his
watch.
video went viral when he said, "Ki, why do you think we are uneducated? I can talk to you in
Yeah.
English. I can do
Yeah,
this."
exactly. So I
Yeah,
think there
yeah.
was a video where which went viral, shot on a cell phone, where he was with a bunch of farmers and he was
Hmm.
talking to some politician in English, and then the IT cell went after him saying कि ये किसान ऐसे होते हैं, अंग्रेजी बोलने वाले किसान.
Exactly,
So
exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly. So that
yeah.
that is Deep Sidhu. So he
Hmm.
died in a car accident. And then Amritpal
There are
took over this
conspiracy theories
organization.
about that also, by the way.
There are, and
Yeah,
then that
yeah.
is
Yeah.
also connected to Sidhu Moosewala. Not
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
forget his
The
first
rapper.
name.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was also
Yeah. Yeah.
shot,
Sidhu
right?
Moosewala.
So
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Sidhu Moosewala, right? So
Mm.
there is like connection between that also, because Sidhu Moosewala did a song, two songs dedicated to Deep Sidhu,
Ah,
and basically also like sort of propagating how Punjab needs its own state, etc. Right?
right, right.
So it's
Um,
like Tupac and yeah, both
Biggie,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Notorious
I,
yeah,
B.I.G.
yeah.
it's a little murky, the whole thing.
Right,
Okay,
right, right,
of
right.
course there are conspiracy theories, but for now let's just say he died in an
Sure.
accident, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so then Deep Sidhu, Amritpal comes in, he takes over Punjab Waris Day and changes the whole thing entirely into an armed revolution.
Okay.
Now what is happening is that he wants to start a separatist movement, a violent separatist movement, to have a separate Khalistan. um he, again, as I said, he resembles Bindran Wale, and
Hmm.
Bindran Wale is someone who had killed thousands of people in Punjab
Hmm.
when he was doing the revolution, so he's
Right.
basically also advocating that now.
Hmm. Hmm.
um his followers keep doing these protests which are very violent in nature, and then they keep using Guru Granth Sahib, which is the religious text of Sikh, as a shield,
Right.
so the
Right.
police are not able to do anything. And a lot
Correct.
of police have said that every time we go and try to stop them, they bring up the book and we can't
Hmm.
really disrespect the book.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it's this bizarre scenario where the police is looking extremely inefficient
Hmm.
in this case, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
um, in November 2021, they held a long procession across Punjab to encourage Sikhs to become baptized, to become baptized, right? Through a ceremony called the Amrit ceremony. Uh, he also wanted them to forego drug consumption and also ditch customs like caste and dowry,
Right.
right? But that quickly turned into like a super aggressive mob that is
Hmm.
just rampaging across Punjab, right?
Hmm.
In 2021 December, he and his followers vandalized properties of gurdwaras and opposed chairs being placed in front of the Guru Granth Sahib. So elderly people were sitting on chairs. So they literally like picked up and threw the elderly people out and said ki tum chair nahi niche
Hmm.
baitho,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
So that happened. Then in February 2022, which was last year, um, a huge mob of his supporters had attacked a police station, which was on the outskirts of Amritsar. They were brandishing swords and using the Sikh holy book as a shield.
Shield. Yeah.
They barged in and they wanted their this guy called Lovepreet Singh to be released. He was an accused in a molestation case, and he was also a follower of Amritpal. So they wanted
Right.
the police to guarantee that he will be released. So they
Okay.
basically just attacked the police station,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Now I'll just come to the latest updates and
Hmm.
what the allegations are.
Hmm.
Now, the recent case against Amritpal is that he has been gathering weapons. He and his followers have been actively gathering weapons to start
Hmm.
this armed revolution, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So he's been registered under the Arms Act after a huge cache of weapons was recovered from his aides across Punjab, right? Um, so official sources say that he has been maintaining close links to Pakistan intelligence agency ISI and other terrorist groups which are based abroad. Uh, he is also said to be close to a UK based Khalistani terrorist called Avatar Singh Khanda. And he is believed to be the key factor behind Amritpal. So he's getting support from UK and
Right.
also certain Khalistani element from Canada, right?
Okay.
Um, and one worst thing that I read about this is that he is actively going around saying कि नहीं drugs नहीं लेना चाहिए etc etc and promoting de-addiction centers. They found out that these de-addiction centers were actually weapon centers. So his
Okay.
followers
Hmm.
were actually people who were in these de-addiction centers. He's taking advantage of their vulnerabilities and also using the centers as storage of
Storage.
weapons.
Right. Right. Right.
So as of now, this whole thing started on March 20th.
Mhm.
We are on April 3rd, so
Mhm.
50 around 2 weeks ago.
Mhm.
There has been a massive chase around Punjab,
Mhm.
where they have been trying to find where this guy is. He
Mhm.
has issued a video, 2 videos 3 days ago, where he is essentially saying that I'm not a fugitive, I'm a rebel, I have not run away. Even today, I am with my community and supporters. I'm not going to run away from the country. I will come in front of the world soon. I do not fear the government. Do whatever you want to do. And police have also sort of identified the location of one of his social media managers. And he is also like in some dera in Hoshiarpur district. So what they're doing is they're actively trying to figure out where he is, and till now it hasn't been successful. Some
Right.
videos randomly surfaced. I think those were misinformation, where he's in
Uh-huh.
Delhi, then someone was like, oh, he's in UP somewhere. So it's very bizarre what is happening, like with this whole chase sequence. News has been not really obsessed about this, but when they do report on him, they're like, "Arey, kidhar hai Amritpal?" And then they show like 16 locations. Kidhar bhi
Right.
ho sakta hai Amritpal? Kidhar hai Amritpal? Arey, what are you doing, man? Like all major cities of Punjab, they keep highlighting us like, "Idhar hai kya Amritpal?" Arey, what? So anyway, so that is the whole mm,
Right.
situation.
I mean, there is an entire segment of Republic journalists, right? He is saying, "Today I'll tell you kidhar hai Amritpal," and then he says,
Yeah.
"Idhar bhi ho sakta hai, udhar bhi ho sakta hai." So,
But Meghnad, is this and also Kalim, you can chime in on this. So obviously, I was never witness to the separatist movement in the 80s, right? The Khalistani movement.
Hmm,
But from whatever I've heard from journalists and my parents' generation, they said it was a very dark time. Like it was almost like
hmm,
Punjab is gone,
hmm,
and
hmm,
then they sort of like salvaged it somehow. Do
hmm.
you think this is on paths to being a resurgence to that? And also, second thing, there is this very weird pattern that farmers protest happens, the media and the government starts pushing the Khalistani agenda,
Hmm,
and
hmm,
then
hmm.
now and then now this, right? So is there
It's
a
it's very strange. I was looking this
Mm,
up, but sorry, before I continue, I think I made a
mm,
mistake a while earlier. I'm
okay,
confusing the years. I think we are in 2023, and I keep saying last year. It was actually in 2021 when he came
right,
to Dubai, and then the whole
got it,
sequence of events happened. Right? I think I
got
said
it.
yeah.
2022 before. Anyway,
Yeah,
huh.
yeah, yeah.
So I was looking this up, Abbas, where
Mm,
so there is this amendment to the UAPA law which happened, I think 2 years ago, right?
mm,
Where under the UAPA there is a schedule where the government can declare certain organizations as terrorist organizations and ban them.
right, right.
So the amendment that was made in the UAPA was that now individuals can also be included in this schedule, right?
Yeah,
Now, if you look at this particular organization, Waris Pathan De, right?
yeah.
Bible
Waris
still
Punjab De.
Punjab, Punjab, Punjab.
Waris
Waris Patan is
Punjab
an
De.
AIM politician who, at the time of recording, has not been. Is not under the UAP.
Waris Punjab De,
Right,
this
right.
organization. Thank you for that correction. So I was checking, because think about it, right? Like, in a classical sense,
Mm,
they are basically going against the Constitution of India by saying that we need a separate state, right? Which is
mm, mm.
basically anti-national 101. like
Right.
like
Yeah.
Bharat tere tukde ho gaye. They are the ones saying it, like, actually.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, yeah.
armed revolution kar rahe hain, so sedition bhi hai yahan pe, right?
Yeah.
Like, actually sedition ho sakta hai yahan pe.
Mm,
Interestingly enough, under the UAPA, where all these things eventually end up, this organization has still not been declared as a terrorist
mm.
organization. But
Okay.
there was an update in February 2023 where another organization which is saying and doing the same things was included in the same schedule, right?
Mm,
Harvinder Singh Sandhu,
mm,
he is a part of the banned list of individual terrorists,
mm,
and his organization, which is Babbar Khalsa International,
mm.
was also included in this whole thing, right?
Got
So
it.
your whole thing, which you were basically alluding to about this whole
Mm,
अरे खालिस्तानी movement हो गया, and then the media gets a bit crazy about the whole thing.
Hmm.
Like farmers protest के time पे it became very convenient also for them,
Exactly. Yeah.
right, to sort of tag these people as Khalistanis and
Hmm.
do this. But now if you look at it, when actually someone is doing Khalistan,
Hmm.
it's very bizarre. The coverage is very muted,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
There's this literal terrorist running around now
Hmm.
who is getting help from Pakistan, Canada, UK. Like there's an international conspiracy for real,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And whenever the coverage happened, like I saw like one or two very quick videos about this, right? Ek to that Republic thing which I saw, right?
Hmm.
Which is kidhar hai Bhagwat Man kya kar raha hai? Right, that is where it always ends up.
Of course. Yeah.
That this is the Aam Aadmi Party government's fault.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
this guy has come up and this whole thing has happened. So
Yeah.
now Bhindranwale, sorry, not Bhindranwale, shit. Amritpal is essentially like this very convenient thing to use against the Aam Aadmi Party government in
Correct.
Punjab,
Yeah.
where the police is actually looking helpless,
Hmm.
and they're like, "Arey, kya hi kar rahe hai?"
Hmm.
Right? So it's very, I find it very strange how this whole Khalistan issue is treated by the media, right?
Yeah.
Like as a movement, it is a separatist movement. So
Yeah.
I would actually say that it is similar to what happens in Jammu and Kashmir.
Hmm.
So the same amount of force that you're putting in Jammu and Kashmir to stop this, you should
Right.
be doing the same thing in Punjab,
Hmm.
right?
Exactly.
But they are not. Like the army is not saying anything. The CRPF is not doing anything. The police is expected to chase this fellow down with his thousands of followers who have weapons everywhere across Punjab and do
Right.
something about it. And
Right.
the worst thing is that he has actually threatened the home minister himself. He's like कि मैं तुम्हारा वही हाल करूंगा जो इंदिरा गांधी का हाल हुआ था. So it's really worrying, and also I'm very confused in a lot of ways. I don't know about you guys.
Right. Kalim, anything you want to say before we move on?
But when I think about the army, not talking about the media or anything, but when I try to think about the action of the government in general, I feel like they are trying to be lenient in a way because what happened in the 80s after, at the Golden
Bhindranwale.
Temple or
Yeah.
after Indira Gandhi's death, it was a very, how do I say, it was like an exodus, right? And
Yeah.
anything, if you take up a, gun or anything, if you try to control this, it might backfire really badly. And this is just, giving benefit of doubt to the government. But at the same time, when you think about it, this government has been a complete failure when it comes to catching this, runaway fugitives or whatever. Because if think about Komal Sharma, the JNU person, right?
Yeah.
They couldn't catch her. Or think about Monu Manesar, who managed to, go to Nepal. So Amritpal Singh is like the bigger in terms of the tier, right? Tier 1, tier
Right.
2, tier 3, whatever.
Hmm.
And if they cannot catch Amritpal Singh, it's also very embarrassing for them, and at the same time gives, the way for conspiracy theories like this government has, planted him, and now they
Yeah,
are
I was
saying
thinking
all
about
this.
it. Is there a puppet master at play here?
That's actually interesting conspiracy theory direction to take, because I was also thinking of this while I was reading the coverage. I'm like, why is the Indian government not reacting to this as with as much force as it should,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I mean, तुम JNU के टाइम पे बस नारे बोलते हो तो फिर इतना you basically do
पुलिस
this.
भेज देते हो, हाँ.
Yeah, abrogation ke piche one of the biggest reasons is to shut down the separatist movement and
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
right? Every time, like even in the northeast, in Nagaland, in Assam, whenever like separatist or like sentiments rise up, you are like completely clamping down on it, and prime minister se home minister tak sab log statement pe statement diye ja rahe hai ki ye ho raha hai. Why is this guy an exception though? Like why is, like, and it's nuts, right? Like I mean, it's been now 15 days that this has been happening, right?
Yeah.
And it's very muted compared to
Yeah.
what it was. I feel like that fellow going from Rajasthan to UP,
Nepal. Okay. Yeah.
sorry, the what's his name, last week, that whole chase sequence that the media did, we
Atiq
covered
Ahmed,
it
right?
also. Atiq Ahmed, right? His
Yeah.
whole thing about him going from point A to point B had way more coverage than when this guy was being chased actively and there were leads coming out. It happened during the same duration, by the way. Why is this guy who just claimed कि मेरा encounter होने वाला है, उसके पीछे पड़ गए ये लोग सब लोग, but this guy who's actually saying अरे मैं तो भारत के टुकड़े टुकड़े कर दूंगा, मैं तो ये कर दूंगा, वो कर दूंगा, why is not the equal amount of attention being paid to this fellow?
Right,
Is
right.
a big question.
I think the only action that the Indian government took was कि British embassy के बाहर वो toilet बना देंगे and everything. That is the only action we have taken so far.
Yeah, I actually, that's a good question. I haven't really gone into that. I've just took out all the things. But
Yeah.
if I get a chance next week, what I'll do is I'll just try to find out what the Indian government has actually done about this. I mean, I just don't want to cast like random allegations here. And
Sure.
if you have someone who knows what they're doing, please leave it in the
Yeah,
comments.
tell us in the comments. Okay. All right, cool. We'll take a short break at this point. When we come back, we'll hear what I have to say this week and then we'll wrap up. So we'll see you on the other side of this break.
Hi, this is Cyrus Rogan Brocha, pyar se Rogues. I've come up with a brand new idea. It's a premium product called Club Cyrus Says. It's an offer open just for you. Let me tell you about the product. We've got exclusive Cock and Bull episodes just for you. That's right, just for you. That means others don't get to see it. Also, you get exclusive footage, extra bits, the uncut version of the interviews with celebrities. And these are huge celebrities, not small-time celebrities. Only the big guys come on the show. So you'll get the exclusive bits that nobody else gets. The extra tidbits, special stuff, uncensored stuff you don't want to put out. That's just for you. And for our audio listeners, you get special ad-free content and early access to interviews and sessions and podcasts which nobody else will get. You'll get it first. You're the first people. You're Neil Armstrong. You're Edmund Hillary. You're whoever discovered India. You're that. And by becoming an exclusive member of Club Cyrus Says, you get the power. We transfer the power to you and you become the producers and you will decide what content or what happens on that show. You are the masters and we are we can't use words like that. People who work for the masters, basically. So guys, get in. Special audio features include, I forget. I can't remember what the hell.
Welcome back. We're on page 10 with Kalim, Ahmed and Meghnad, and we're talking about the current events that happened this week. Let's talk about the Israel protests that have been happening. So this is an interesting thing. Basically, if I can tell you the bullet points of why the protests are happening, Benjamin Netanyahu, who is the president of Israel at this point, so in the past about 5 to 10 years, Israel's parliament and government has been moving towards extreme right. There are some very extremist and fundamentalist parties which have come into the fold, and it's seen that Benjamin Netanyahu, who in Israeli terms is seen as more left than what the current situation is, he's trying to appease the more right wing elements that have come in, and they are trying to basically give the parliament more power over the judiciary. Uh, in essence, the proposal is that the parliament can overturn decisions made by the Supreme Court, the Israeli Supreme Court, and also appoint judges. What happens right now is there has always been a push and pull between the Supreme Court and the political parties in Israel. To do this, to take this decision, Netanyahu essentially needed 61 MPs to agree with this proposal. He already has 64, so he has the number of people he needs to go ahead with this proposal of the parliament being more superior over the judiciary. Some of the reasons for this is that the the political system in Israel, they feel that the Supreme Court has been a little lenient on them when it comes to issues like occupation, doing settlements. And there has also been this controversial decision where in Israel you are supposed to serve in the army as compulsory, but the Hasidic Jews, who are the more conservative religious Jews, they are exempt from this to complete their religious studies. But there was a ruling by the Supreme Court which questioned this, that why should they be exempt from this if everybody has to serve in the military. So there have been questions raised on that as well. Currently the protests that are happening are between where the society has basically been split into two. One which believes that yes, the parliament should have more authority over the judiciary, and this will make in establishing the Jewish state a more easier process. And there are the more quote unquote liberal elements within the Israeli societies who believe that no, the Supreme Court is supreme. And the Supreme Court has been, of course, Israel is a religious state, and they don't have a written constitution yet, but they
Hmm.
have certain basic tenets in place which they follow. And I thought there was a somewhat of a parallel here where there is this talk of having a Hindu Rashtra being
Hmm.
established, and will we see in the next 15 to 20 years a scenario where our government will try and get the Supreme Court to do their bidding by doing this, so that
Sorry, like the parallels which you were saying,
yeah.
the Modi government's first act in 2014 was this, which you are
Hmm,
just mentioning, which is they
hmm,
passed this National Judicial Appointments Commission bill, which was
hmm,
actually taking over the judicial appointments. And the
hmm,
Supreme Court had to come in and say that this is unconstitutional. We will decide our own judges. We will pick it up. And now, fast forward to 2023,
hmm.
Kiren Rijiju is like constantly fighting with the
Yeah.
judge with the chief justice on this matter as well,
Yeah, yeah.
where they're like, oh, I don't want this judge, and then they're like, no, we'll give this judge and to investigate karo. And the home ministry, if I'm sorry, the law ministry, if I'm not wrong, one particular judge was recommended for elevation, and they said that he is a homosexual, so we cannot have him in
Hmm.
as
Yeah.
Yeah,
PA. And the court rightfully said that, dude, this can't be a
yeah,
parameter to not elevate someone. In
yeah.
fact, that will actually make him more empathetic, and it will make the
Hmm,
panel more diverse.
hmm,
Anyway,
hmm.
go on.
Yeah, so that was one, I think, equation I had in mind. The other was, this is an interesting question of where do the courts lie in a religious country, right? Like, so for now, of course, Israel is a democracy, but then they are also an occupying force. So there are
Yeah.
parts of Israel right now which they have where they which they have taken over from Palestine, where the Jewish residents have to follow the constitution of Israel, but the same sort of rules are not applied on the Palestinians. For them,
Hmm.
it's the military law that applies to them, right? So if you look at a little bit of the history here, the Supreme Court has actually been giving more quote unquote secular sort of
Judgment.
judgments. And when I say secular here, I mean secular in the Western sense, where it's
Hmm.
irreligious, not the
Hmm.
Indian sense where all religions are one, and
Yeah.
in that sense. So there is this push and pull. So for now, um, Netanyahu has delayed this proposal to the 30th of April, when again this will be spoken about in the parliament. And the defense minister, who's from Netanyahu's party, has also spoken against it, which is what sparked the
Oh.
protests. Yes, so there is sort of a difference of opinion within the party
Hmm.
of Israel. Um, so yeah,
Sorry,
essentially,
this is interesting also, Abbas,
yeah,
because Netanyahu classically is an authoritarian leader, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's why, certain authoritarian leaders from around the world get together
right.
and then they go to beaches and,
So
like do fun things. So,
so
Where they
no,
buy
but
Pegasus.
it's very interesting that his own deputy is opposing him, which actually
yeah.
points towards him losing power. Like there is like this direct signal then.
Correct. So if I can very, very simplify this, it's almost like Netanyahu is the Vajpayee figure, and there are the more Adityanath sort of figures now coming into the Israeli parliament, who are way more extreme and way more sort of, they want an Israeli Jewish state right now. They will not
Yeah.
wait for it. So
Hmm.
Netanyahu wants to appease them, but at the same time, he's also facing these protests from the Israeli society. So interesting times there, and also all of this, of course, has effects on the Palestinian people, where those attacks are not stopping; those are going on. So that's where that is where essentially the Israeli protest stand right now. It'll be interesting to see which side comes out on top.
Hmm.
So yeah, Kalim, anything you want to say about this?
The first thing that came to my mind is Donald Trump and Mike Pence wala situation, right?
Right.
When the entire insurrection was happening and everything, I think Donald Trump wanted Mike Pence to come out and say that the election was fraud or whatever,
Yeah.
and he didn't, as far as I am aware, but I can't recall the details. And then
Yeah.
Donald Trump tweeted like Mike Pence is a coward or whatever, and the people tried to turn against. He tried to turn his followers against Mike Pence. But in this situation, it's kind of similar where Netanyahu wants to appeal to a mass, and his own deputy is going against him. It's very
Yeah.
parallel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since you mentioned Trump, I should also say Joe Biden has actually come out and said that Netanyahu should roll back this
Yeah.
proposal. And in response to which Netanyahu was like, we don't take orders from Americans, which is very rare
हमारा
because
internal matter है, तुम क्यों
Yeah,
इसमें आ
exactly.
रहे हो?
which is very rare because the US president 9 times out of 10 is always in favor of whatever the Jewish
Jewish
Yeah.
community is doing. Yeah.
community and the president is saying.
You know,
So that is also an
Yeah.
odd thing here.
you know who I'm worried about?
Who?
Adani.
Why?
Because if you remember in January this year, there was a big deal that was cracked between Israel and Adani. Sorry,
Okay.
Israel and India.
India.
So there's this Haifa port in Israel, which is actually a very strategic port. Okay, like it's actually quite interesting how we managed to, or India managed to
Yeah.
sort of take over that port, because it's a very strategic location. The world thinks that it's a very strategic port. So $1.2 billion mein Adani had acquired that Haifa port and its management, right?
Mhm.
And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because like after the Hindenburg thing happened, there was this big question that came up where $1.2 billion का लोन लेके रखा है, तो वो कब कैसे repay करेंगे? So they said that has been fully repaid, and now Ken has done a story saying that no, actually that has not been repaid. It's very bizarre. So basically we don't know what is happening there, but the fact
Okay.
is that a giant loan was taken to basically buy this port. Now with this situation happening, which is like maybe a change of power, maybe massive
Yeah.
protests, maybe something else happening there, but
Yeah.
instability in Israel, it also brings up questions of how our investment will be safe. When I say our, you know what I mean.
Right.
How our investment will be safe in the hands of that government now, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Plus, the other thing that is worth, I think, tracking is the weapons. We have a very good relationship with Israel right now, but one of the biggest reasons is cyber weapons.
Yeah.
Things like Pegasus came from
Correct.
Israel, right?
Yeah.
We have a big, like we keep having contracts with them on just normal weapons and cyber weapons both. So again, strategically speaking, हमारे लिए वो भी थोड़ा सा ट्रैक करना जरूरी है.
But like India is out on the market, right, looking for commercialized spyware, because वो Pegasus में the US का sanction वगैरह इतना लग गया है that
Oh yeah,
almost
that also
yeah.
happened. I remember. Yeah, last week only that happened. No, US में
Yeah.
someone discovered that अरे मेरे भी phone में Pegasus है. They're like, fuck, बंद करो इसको. It's like,
So India is right now out on the market. There is a report by Financial Times. You can see that we are looking for a spyware and something that is not in the radar or anything. It's low
तो
grade.
GPT-4 यूज करो, spywares बनाओ, malwares बनाओ और बेचो इंडियन गवर्नमेंट को.
So in essence, next year might be like a big year. There are the American elections, Indian elections, and for all you know, there might be elections in Israel as well.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
Israel has
And
had like
also-
2 elections already, right?
No,
Oh, right,
also
right.
two other things happening is French protests. Those pension protests have just gone next level.
Yeah.
I don't know what is happening in there also. And
Yeah.
the second is Russia. Now Russia is going to bring out reserve troops apparently. So we might see like some sort of culmination of that war at the same time, during the same time. The other thing is, I think Japan is now buying oil from Russia also. Like they have basically disconnected from the US. I just saw this headline before this, so I don't know the details, but
Right.
Japan is now also getting oil and gas and whatever from Russia. So
Okay.
who knows?
Hmm.
Interesting things happening.
Interesting times. Okay, that brings us to the end of this week's episode. Before we wrap up, I have to ask you guys, have you been watching the NMACC opening pictures
Yes.
where the paparazzi have been calling all kinds of names to the celebrities. So here's the
Yeah.
thing, right? I often wonder, like, how do the PR
No, अब्बास थोड़ा context दे ना, सब लोग
okay,
नहीं
so
देखते.
like 15-20 minutes from this studio of IVM, there is a new spanking new cultural center that has opened up, which is shortened into NMACC, which stands for the Nita Ambani
नीता
Nita
मुकेश ना?
Mukesh Ambani
हाँ,
Cultural
हाँ,
Center,
हाँ.
Yeah.
and stars from the world over descended for its opening, which happened over the weekend from in the Indian film industry as well as abroad. There was Gigi Hadid, Tom Holland, Zendaya, many people, and the Indian paparazzi being the Indian paparazzi. Uh,
Mm.
we're treating them like Sanjay Dutt and Salman Khan. So we're like, madam, idhar, madam, phone dekhiye.
Hello,
And
this side.
this
The,
side,
the funniest thing was someone was like, "Hey Gigi, hey Gigi," was like, "Hey, nahi, what Gigi hai re, Gigi," and then like, what Priyanka Chopra's husband, what's his name? I
Nikwa.
don't remember.
Nick Jonas.
Nikwa.
So it's like Nikwa, hey Nikwa, oh
Nikwa.
Jiju, Jiju, idhar
Ah.
dekhna Jiju.
And then he walks out there, someone is like, "Arey, Jiju Sharma gaye, Jiju Sharma gaye." And then some actress walks in and you can hear someone asking, "Ye Shakira hai kya?" So
Yeah,
yeah,
Hey,
they are
Gigi
exactly.
just
Hadid ho.
so I was actually wondering, like, how do the PR people of Tom Holland and Zendaya and all these people tell them who is inviting? So I'm like, do they just go and be like, the Queen of India has called you, you better show up?
Yeah. No, I mean, I was also thinking. Also, Nikhil says that Tom Holland को ए Tommy बोला है.
Hey, Tommy,
हाँ.
Tommy idhar.
No, I think you know one thing which I noticed also,
Hmm.
that's ठीक है, इंटरनेशनल स्टार्स व्हाटएवर, बियोंसे को भी तो शादी में बुलाया था.
शादी में
Yeah,
नचवा
yeah,
दिया.
पैसा,
yeah, yeah.
या पैसा
Hillary
देते हैं
Clinton
बॉस.
also, yeah.
ये बहुत पैसा देते हैं लोग, मतलब आई मीन
Hmm.
ऑब्वियसली लाइक
Hmm.
अगेन लाइक शाहरुख खान शोड अप सेइंग अरे अगर अंबानी के घर में पार्टी हो तो पठान तो जरूर आएगा, एंड देन स्टार्टेड डांसिंग विद लाइक वरुण धवन एंड
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
व्हाटएवर.
Yeah.
Then Amir Khan was there, Salman Khan
Yes,
was there,
all of
प्रियंका
them.
चोपड़ा को उड़ा के लेके आए.
Yeah,
She
and
is
they showed
like,
up on multiple days, not even like they showed up for a few hours. They showed for 3
oh,
days consecutively. Yeah. So the
oh, I
Yeah.
thought it
launch
was
happened.
just one day. Okay.
No, the launch happened over Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and some of them showed up all 3 days.
Yeah.
So that just shows
When
you.
did the Queen Mother do that glorious dance?
That was Saturday night.
Okay. So
Yeah.
that was Saturday. Okay, nice. So that was, so the way I found out was this. I don't know why the YouTube algorithm thought that I want to see her dance. And I'm like, "ये क्या हो रहा है?" Then I opened it. Now it just spams me with like that cultural center ki bakwas.
Yeah.
It's
Your
like, oh
YouTube is
God,
being run by ANI.
I don't understand. Like I shouldn't be this updated on this phenomenon. I shouldn't actually, but I am.
Cool. All right. So I'm actually going this Thursday at the venue. So I'll find out what
What is
exactly is all
happening there?
the. So there's a play that's happening. So it's a a huge cultural center. So there are 3 venues within the center. There's one massive one, the big one where all of this is happening. Then there is a smaller one where there's a play happening called The Elephant in the Room. So I'm going to check that out. So I'll
Oh,
give you a report on what
when are
the
you going? Thursday, next Thursday.
Thursday. Yeah, we're recording this on
Chal.
Monday. So
Okay.
Thursday, I will let you know what the cutting
Okay.
edge cultural center
Yeah.
is like.
Nice.
Uh,
I'm there next week in Bombay, तो मैं भी जाके थोड़ा दर्शन
done.
करके आऊंगा. Like
Cool,
venue का
cool.
दर्शन करके आएंगे.
Okay, before we wrap up, Kalim, where can people find you? Do you want to give out your Twitter handle? How long are you going to be there?
So yeah, I'm on Twitter and on Instagram where I monitor very strictly because I should post a lot on my Instagram.
Nice.
So the Twitter handle is AKHMXT. There is a long story behind this username and the same username on Instagram. Yeah.
Cool. Any story you want to plug from alt news that you did recently?
Yeah, so one story is coming out that is again on T Raja, what he did on Shobha Yatra Ramnavami. It was a very long, I think almost 12-hour long Shobha Yatra. So we are tracking every single video and every single route and everything to see. And the speech were really, really, explicit. you can hear the mother word, you can also hear the behan
Mm.
word and everything. So they are transcribing everything. You'll find the entire report should be out by Friday, I guess, if we
Okay.
manage to compile everything by then. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Cool. We'll look out for that. And Meghnad, where can one find you?
You can find me on Me Meghnad on Twitter, and please follow my YouTube channel Meghnad.
Mm-hmm.
Just to give you like an idea, थोड़ा plug कर लेता हूँ. So
Sure.
last week, we did cover the Rahul Gandhi's disqualification when I hosted the show.
Mm.
And then Abbas was there on ELI 10 as well, where we went deep into defamation itself and
Mm.
what this means and how the law works. So we tried to do like a quote unquote comprehensive coverage of the
Yeah.
Rahul Gandhi disqualification story.
Yeah.
Uh, well done, Abbas.
Thank you.
Like, and please check out both those things, Page 10 ka last episode and ELI 10, which are both around the same theme.
Mm.
And I, on my personal front, have finally learned how to edit videos. So I have put out a video on my personal channel as well. It's a 20-minute video about just opinion piece about why this disqualification is the best thing that has happened to Rahul Gandhi and the Congress. So please do check that out as well. It's
All right.
Meghnerd.
Cool. You want to tell us who's on How to Citizen this week?
How to Citizen is on pause. It's
Okay.
on break right now.
All right.
The issue being that कुछ हमारे record नहीं हो रहे episode बाद में, like people keep rejecting. तो sad life.
They have
Nobody
to go
wants
to
to talk.
the anime CC opening day.
Exactly. Now I know why. It's like NMACC में ही जाके record करूंगा अब तो मैं. मतलब me and Shreyas will go there to that venue and सबको पूछेंगे कि अरे how to citizen भाई साहब. So it's like, let's see. Yeah.
Cool. All right. And my name is Abbas. You can find me on Twitter at Abbas Momin and Abbas Momin88 on Instagram. You can find me on the ALI 10 episode that Meghnad just said. And I would like to say that on my show, which is Has It Aged Well, this week we have Samira Reddy, who
Oh
was in
yes.
the studio to
And
talk about.
also see his reel, Abbas ka reel, where Samira Reddy just creepily comes to him and basically
Caresses my
touches
head.
his bald head very nicely, and Abbas goes red and he's like, I'm really enjoying this. I'm enjoying this.
Yeah. So so if you want like an hour of that, you can listen to the episode on all leading platforms,
An
podcasting
hour
platforms.
of Samira Reddy stroking Abbas's
Yes,
head.
and me enjoying it. And the video for that will drop on Thursday. So that's
Nice.
from my end. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you next week with a new panel and some new topics. Till then, bye bye.
Bye bye.